Hello and welcome to Tricks of the S-Trade channel. Today is the 25th of March 2017, and today we have a part 2 of Iggy Azalea. Alright? Now, before I get into Iggy, and because we rarely do part 2s on anybody on our channel, but for Iggy's case, um, it's because we had a special request to do a part 2 on Iggy. And when we usually do any part 2s on anybody, we want to make sure that we remove all reasonable doubts or all non-reasonable doubts. Pardon my language. We want to make sure that we remove all non-reasonable doubts in anybody's minds so that you come to a firm conclusion that who you're looking at is a transgender who's been fooling you. Now, the reason for that is that, sometimes maybe our videos maybe didn't really give you enough information or we left out some information. It's none of a doing because we try to provide information to the best of a capacity, right? But sometimes we may not provide it in full and we might miss out some things. So what someone asked us to make a special request that we should do an Iggy Azalea part 2 video. And so we are honoring that. And so by the time you're done watching this particular video, you will have no doubts in your mind that Iggy is a man. All right? If you have any doubts, it's just because you are in denial. You have come to trust what you see without firm research and studying the subject matter to know what it is. You're just somebody who lives or lives in denial. All right. So with that said, before I get into Iggy, now I wanted to bring something to your attention just because I like just providing information here and then when I can. And before I go over there and provide that information that I wanted to say before I get on the subject of Iggy part 2. As I usually say in all our videos, if it's your first time on this channel, I want you to understand that we do not hate transgenders. We do not judge transgenders. We have no problem with anybody being transgender as long as you're an adult and you make the decision on your own, then that's fine because we can judge you. God is the judge who judges. What we're trying to do on this channel is trying to make people understand your world and also to expose the system and also expose the true rulers of today's world. All right. And what we're trying to expose here also is the fact that there is an organized system put in place, all right, that's given to taking children at young ages, taking that God-given ability in which a child should be able to grow and make a decision on which type of life he or she wants to live. These children are taken, mutilated, castrated, fed hormones, and forced to live in a sex and gender that's not their own. So potentially being slaves. All right. And as of you're exposed on this channel already, that the people who are making this system to work like clockwork, providing all the necessary needs, the media, because they own the media, is the Vatican. The hierarchy of the Vatican, which includes the Pope and the priest and the people who control the Vatican. They've owned everything for a very long time. They've been seeking to control you and I in what they call the New World Order, which in simple terms just means the Vatican, the Pope and his hierarchy wants to control you, wants to own the world and you also in it. All right. So if it's your first time on this channel, like I always recommend, please watch the primer video. When you're done watching the primer video, or if you've never watched the primer video, I want you to pause this video at this point and go watch that video, please. It will be good for you so I don't have to keep on repeating myself over and over and over again. Watch the primer video. When you're done with the primer video, I also recommend that you download the document that's attached to every video that we make. The document might look like a lot, but it's going to take you 30 minutes to go through. It just has a lot of pictures. It will give you clear details, visual differences between male and female, so you can be able to spot these people. Because we are living in a world in which you have to know these differences. All right, so you don't get tricked, and you don't do the wrong thing and live regretting it. All right. So, and also at your own time, I do recommend that you watch the Zayn Malik video, and at your own time watch the Marilyn Monroe video. And if you're really interested in history, watch the Beyonce Part 2 video on this channel. Now, with that said, let me get into the subject, not Iggy yet, but let me just throw some information on what I wanted to show you guys. And today we're talking about the French Revolution. Now, the French Revolution is very, very important. It's one of those events that set into motion the world that we have today and the way it's being run. Okay? The French Revolution is very, very important. I advise everybody and anybody to do a research on the French Revolution. Study it. Get all the information that you can have on it. Study it also knowing that there's a lot of disinformation out there. It's one of those things that you have to deal with on a regular basis when you're doing investigations and doing a lot of research. It's disinformation. You just have to use your common sense to understand what it's talking about. Now, the French Revolution was what started everything that we have today, right? Now, if you've watched on this channel, I do recommend that you watch the Beyonce Part 2 video. It will give you a lot of basis so that you could understand what I'm talking about right now, okay? So now, the French Revolution was the first revolution that the Vatican set in place through Adam Weishaupt, all right? The founder of the so-called Illuminati, who was a professor at the University of Ingolstadt, which in that post was held primarily by Jesuits. That means Roman Catholic hierarchy trained people in that university. It's a Roman Catholic university, a Jesuit university. And so Adam Weishaupt had sent had set up the principles of how the Pope and the hierarchy could run the world again after the Reformation of Martin Luther had broken down the Catholic Empire by translating the Bible from the Latin Vulgate, from the Latin language, into the common language of peoples around the world, starting with the people in Germany, and then it spread across other countries. And so people came in contact with the Bible, the King James Bible as we have today, the 1611 version especially, which has like the 85 complete books, or I think 85 or 83 books, and made people to have wisdom, because there's a lot of logic involved in the Bible. It's a history. It's not just a religious book. It's a history book. It's a book full of logical wisdom, all right, that can make you understand how to think and what to expect. So it's one of those things that made the Roman Catholic Empire to break down. And so because of that, one of the things that the Weishaupt had brought into contention was to make sure that, since they couldn't stop the spread of people reading the Bibles, and people were printing Bibles every now and then, what they needed to do was to make sure that they counted the Bible on every single thing, all right, so that people would have no belief in it anymore, as it's happening today. So, for example, when you read the book of Genesis, it talks about that God creates the world. The Vatican. I can't remember the video that you need to actually watch to explain a lot of the stuff I'm saying right now. You can look up the. I'm trying to recall. Let me see if I can get the actual video and give you the name. So the name of the video on this channel will be the Prince Charles video. If you watch that, it will explain a whole lot of stuff that I'm saying, and how the Vatican started countering the beliefs of the Bible by presenting like the heliocentric model from Copernicus, countering the creation in the Bible, the creation story, which is not just a story, which is fact, and countering that with the heliocentric model, and then introducing planets into our normal everyday lives, and then the Big Bang theory and all the like evolution and other theories that counteract the creation of the world in Genesis. So they did that across every other single thing that the Bible talks about, all right? So the Bible is the greatest problem that the Vatican faces. So that's why people have to go back to studying the Bible to actually know what's what's in there. So now the reason why so when Adam Weishaupt now set in place the rules on how the world, the fractured Roman Catholic um, empire would be retrieved back for the Pope. He set in motion that one of the first things they needed to do was to counter the Bible. Another thing was because the monarchs at that time, by that time we didn't have anything like democracy or you know, of people, or government of the people, government for the people, by the people, in which the people get to choose who rules them. You had monarchs. And one of the other steps that Adam Weishaupt put in place was that they should make sure that all monarchies are destroyed. All right. And so that is what they implemented in the French Revolution. Now, I want you to take note of the dates here because the dates tell you an actual story. It says here on May 1776, Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in the Electorate of Bavaria, right? Which is just an offshoot of the Vatican. The Vatican owns the Illuminati. So once ever you hear, anytime you hear the word Illuminati in your circles, don't worry about the musicians, the artists, and all that. Those are just the faces that you can, that the Pope wants you to believe are the real Illuminati guys. They're just faces. It's more like someone putting an actor, right? Acting a role, but he's not really the character involved. He's not the main person. So these just people are just here to confuse you so that you don't look at the Vatican as the Illuminati. The Vatican is the Illuminati, right? So I want you to take note of that the date on May 1st, on 1st of May 1776, Johann Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati in the Electorate of Bavaria, if you follow my mouse. Now, when we go to the French Revolution now, I want you to take note that it says the Illuminati was founded in 1776 and the French Revolution, right, started, if you're following my mouse, says, I'm just going to read it. So it says, the French Revolution, right, was a period of far-reaching social and political upheaval in France that lasted from 1789 to 1799. Now, prior to this, the the French Empire had been one of the strongest empires, and they had succeeded away from the Roman Catholic Empire. And so now the Pope was trying to get that back. So based on what Adams Weishaupt, right, had told him on how told the Vatican on how they would run back the world, the first place that they had to get rid of the monarch was France, and that set in motion the French Revolution. Now, how did the French Revolution become so successful? If you studied history books, and especially even on this Wikipedia page, there's a lot of disinformation, all right, that's being put in here so that you can make the right conclusion, come to the right conclusion about what really happened and how the French Revolution came into being. So that's why I advise you that it's very, very important that you do a study on the French Revolution because this will be the same scenario that is going to be put in place is the same scenario that's being run over and over again in a world, right? To break down the social order, and because the Vatican believes in order out of chaos, make the system chaotic and then rebuild it again. So this will give you the basis of how every revolution starts. Now, before I go any further on this and explaining this, I want you to understand something. um, Food is very, very important because if a nation is fed well, they become strong. All right? They become strong. The Vatican doesn't want strong people. When I'm talking about strong people, I'm talking about strong people who are strong in their bodies and strong in their minds. Because strong people in body and mind cannot be ruled. All right. So now the way it works is this. You've probably heard on the news, there's a lot of food poisoning. All right. They poison the water, they poison the air, then they have federal agencies running all over the place, and nobody gets prosecuted. They just keep on telling you, okay, this company so, you're responsible for poisoning so food, so water, or so environment. But nobody, I mean, the court cases keep dragging and dragging on, and nobody gets prosecuted. It's there for a reason. The Vatican doesn't want a strong people. It doesn't want healthy, strong people. It wants weak people. Weak people in the sense that weak enough for them to do their jobs, all right? So the Vatican makes money off you. Weak enough so that you go to the hospital and still keep the drug trade, the hospitals, the health insurance policies happy and wealthy, and you sick and weak. It's no mistake that you hear all these food poisonings of water, food, and air, and nobody gets prosecuted or land. It's there for a reason to keep people weak so they can never be strong enough, all right, to fight the Vatican. Because you have to understand this. Money, if you've ever wondered why we say the American government, you probably hear this all the time, that we're in a recession, right? But if you look around, there is buildings everywhere. They're building properties, developing properties all the time. All right? Why is that? Because real money, it's not the currency in your wallet. It's not that paper note that you carry, or banknote, or the Federal Reserve note, or whatever banknote that you carry in your country. Real money is assets. Assets. Tangible stuff. All right? And the greatest assets are people. Because if you're building or developing property, you need people in that property. So if you kill off the population, so that's why when you listen to the news, you have to understand that so many things are a hoax. When they say they want to do population control, you need population to be rich. If you don't have people, you can be wealthy. If you don't have people to buy your goods and services and to take care of the assets that you're building, you can be rich. So it's a hoax. It's a fear control propaganda machine. What the Vatican desires is to keep you weak, keep you sick, not strong enough so that you can be a problem to them. Because if you're strong in your body and strong in your mind and you're wealthy, you're a problem. Does it make sense? So the Vatican wants you to be weak all the time. So getting back to the subject of the French Revolution, how did the French Revolution become successful? Like I've said earlier, the one target that the Vatican targeted was food, agriculture. That's why if you notice in the United States of America and every industrialized country and any other country around the world, the food supplies is controlled by very few people. So once the food supplies are controlled by very few people, it's very easy to shut down food and start the chaos. All right. So the French Revolution, when you start studying the French Revolution, you hear a lot of stories that they say that caused the French Revolution. They'll hear a lot of stories, but what they'll never make you understand or come to understand is that the French Revolution started with food. And how did this happen? The Vatican set in place um, people to control the food supply in France. All right. So it wasn't like there was no food. The food companies just stored up like it would happen today. The food companies just refused to sell food. It was that simple. Or sell it very at a very high prices. All right. So if you go down this wiki page, like I'm scrolling down now, let me see if I can find where it actually says that. Just give me a second. All right. So the French Revolution, if you go to those wiki page, it will say the causes of the French Revolution are complex. That's real disinformation. All right. And are still debated among historians. That's real false information. All right. So that's why when you study, you have to study a lot of stuff um, with common sense. Don't just think about what you're reading. It does make sense, right? But if you go down further, it says here that years of bad harvests leading up to the revolution also inflamed popular resentment of the privileges enjoyed by the clergy and the aristocracy. The clergy here meaning that these were the people, right, who had the people who were preaching the Bible away from Roman Catholic doctrine. All right. So this is what started the French Revolution. Now, I've done my study and my research on the French Revolution. What started it was that the food companies or the people who were involved in like the grain distribution and making of bread decided to stock up the bread and lock it up and not sell it. So, and because everybody in the country had been so groomed and so dependent on these food distributors, like we have right now in the whole world, we don't produce our own food because the lands are taken away from people, right? The lands are now owned by the government, and when you have any piece of property on a land, you just renting it. They call it a certificate of occupancy, not certificate of ownership, all right? So just like we are dependent right now on food companies making food for us, cooking it, distributing, growing it for us, we are not in the food supply phase of food or creation of food as a population. We are dependent on a lot of companies, like all the global companies that you have, like Walmart, Food for Less, and all every other thing. But at the end of the day, the people who are actually growing the food are mega companies. So that's what happened in France. The people have become so dependent on the food suppliers and weren't making any or weren't growing their own food anymore. So when these guys locked up food, so that's how the Vatican set up the riots to kill the King of France and destroy that monarchy. They made sure that they had the supply. Now, remember what I had told you. It started 1789, all right? And if you can know, Adam Weishaupt started in 1776, right? 1789. Now, how many years is that? If you want to get 89 from 76, that's about 13 years. So it took them 13 years to make sure that they controlled the food supply. When they controlled it, they locked it up. And that started the problem with the French Revolution. And when the people were crying and trying to find out what's wrong with the food, the Vatican made sure they put in place people to point them in the direction of King Louis of France, at the monarchy of France. So the people got mad and killed the king, with the people who were with the instigators, or the people who who were mind controlling the public to do so. Does it make sense? All along, the people never knew that the food supply was in control by people who were in direct contact with the Vatican, whom the Vatican was controlling. So that's how the French Revolution started. So it's very, very important that you study the French Revolution. It's very, very important as well that you try. I don't know how this can be possible, but we should try as much as possible to make sure that we can at least be in the agricultural process of growing our own food and rearing our own animals. It's the only way you're going to be free. So that's the basis. That's the start for it. Okay, so now let's get back to the subject that we're talking about today, in which is Iggy Azalea. All right. Now, I want you to know that the birth name of Iggy here is Amethyst Amelia Kelly, and she's age 26. All right. Now, as I said before, we don't usually do a part two on anybody. All right. But Iggy here, um, someone made a special request for it. And so we're doing a part two on it. So I want you to take note of Iggy's age there. We'll talk about it later, 26. All right. And now, with that said, I'll bring some pictures about Iggy. Okay. Before I get into the pictures, let me show you what really started this whole conversation about Iggy again. Now here is Iggy in a movie. Oh, I don't know, it's a movie, sorry. It's a video. She has a release of a new song. It's called Mo Bounce. All right. And I wouldn't advise anybody to, I mean, if you want to watch this video, I want you to watch it with a clear mind to understand what I'm showing you. All right. Because the video itself looks like a soft adult movie, a soft, X-rated movie that's got kids in it. And this is what kids are gonna be watching. I mean, Iggy here is a man, is a dude. It's bouncing. He's bouncing all over the place, and he's got kids in it, in a soft adult kind X-rated movie, right? So now, what I want you to notice, this is from Iggy's video. It's called Iggy Azalea Mo Bounce. I want you to notice how Iggy sits on this bike. Iggy has a straight back. There's no arch in this back. I have never seen a female without an arch in her back. How is the female going to carry the weight of children without an arch? All right? The only females I've ever seen, all right, who've had no arch in their back are probably like very old women, probably like 90 years old walking with a cane, in which the back is so bent over because they're leaning so much on the cane that you can't see the arch anymore. But Iggy is just 26 years old. How come she doesn't have an arch in her back? Now, let me show you what I mean from one of our documents. Advise that you have this document always handy, please. Now, here is a female right here. A female always has to have an arch in her back. The arch that's just below the shoulder blades, it dips into the navel from the back. It goes in, then comes up and into her pelvis and butt area. The back of a female is always going to be shaped like a C depending on where you draw it from. If you draw it from higher up, it's going to be shaped like an S. All right? A male's back is always going to be straight down into the pelvis. If a man's back wants to arch, it's going to arch like a D, just like you see here, outside. It's never going to arch inside. A female's back arches inside. A man's back, if it arches, will arch outside in the shape of a D. In most cases, if it doesn't arch, it's going to be flat and straight right into the pelvis. All right, some more pictures so I can show you. I'm going to scroll through this document again. See that arch in that female's back? If she bends, leans, or what? If you watch Iggy Azalea's video, she's going to be bending, or he's going to be bending and twisting. There is no arch in that back. You can watch that video frame by frame, pause and stop it, and you see what I'm talking about. Just to scroll a little bit more further to show you what I'm saying. All right, down into our document we go, just to show you how a female's back should look like. All right, here's a female right here. See that arch in this back right here? It's required for a female to carry children. So for that, she has to have an arch in her back like that. It doesn't matter if she's big or small, the arch always has to be there for her to be able to carry the weight of pregnancy. Okay? So scroll further out. It doesn't matter if the female's got muscles, but this female here doesn't have muscles. I'm just showing you the arch that's just below the shoulder blades dips into the navel and comes out into the pelvis. All right? As you can see here, this is a female with muscles. She still has that arch in her back, right? Female with muscles, you can still see the arch in her back. And here is a male, straight back, up and down, right? Let's compare that picture with Iggy Azalea's back over here. Let me go, if I can find that video, if I can pull it up by the side, okay? See that right here. It's a straight back, straight back. Some more pictures on this other side so you see straight back, right? Straight back. Some more pictures here again so you can see straight back into the pelvis, straight back, right? Can you see that? All right, let's go over some more pictures of Iggy so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, here's Iggy, Straight back, like I've said before. Still doing the comparisons right here. Straight back, it's a male back. Can you see that? Some more pictures. All right, let's go further. I don't want anybody to have any illusions because people get confused. Straight back into the pelvis. Straight back, male. All right, can you see that? Straight back. All right, some more pictures. See that again here now? Straight back. There's no arch in that back. Straight back. This can be female. This is male. Don't worry about the butt implant here. It's all fake. And see how that butt hangs real low? It hangs as low as this man's butt over here. Right? A female's butt starts way higher because of the arch. All right? Some more pictures. I'm not going to let this man called Iggy Azalea destroy the female physique and the mothers. It's very special to be a woman. God has given you the best gift ever to bring people into this world. And people like Iggy want to destroy that semblance, that beautiful, beautiful blessing that we have in women and motherhood. He wants to take that away. Straight back again. So I want you to see that clearly. Straight back into the pelvis. Straight back. There's no arch. You're looking at a male over here. Iggy's male. Some more pictures. Straight back. Look at that again. Straight back. There's no arch. No confusions at all. Straight back. Straight. There's no arch in that back. If a female bends or moves, you see that arch. All right. Some more pictures. Straight back again. Straight. It's Iggy again. Straight back into the pelvis. There is no arch. You're looking at a dude. Another picture. Straight back. You can still see that. All right. Straight back. All right. There's no arch in that back. You're looking at a male. Another picture. Straight back again. Straight. See that? I'm showing you guys several pictures because I don't want you to have any illusions or no doubts that you're looking at a male. Straight up and down. This can be female. All right. Some more pictures. Straight back. And this dude, that's what I'm talking about. You're trying to find the gay dudes on TV, on media, and you never get to see them. They tell you there's a lot of homosexuality involved in Hollywood because the Vatican City. Hollywood is owned by the Vatican. But you can never find. They just make the males have some breasts and put some implants on the fake butt and make this man hold it over here, and you think that you're looking at a female. This is the dude right here. Right? I would have done some skull comparisons, but because Iggy is Caucasian and this dude's black, and as like I usually say, if you're comparing skulls, the skulls have to be of the same ethnicity. They have to be of the same height, and you have to take account of the weight. All right? I would have done the skull comparisons, but I can't right now because Iggy always polys around with black dudes. All right? But you can look at the back. Have no illusions. You're looking at a male. Straight back right here like the male over here. All right? Some more pictures. Straight back again. All right? Straight back, up and down. There's no arch. How is this thing supposed to carry children or get pregnant? Straight back. Some more pictures. Now with this last picture, I'm going to pause because we have to do a little study so you can understand perfectly clearly what I'm talking about. All right? So we'll do a little study and I'll show you what I'm saying. All right? So the study that we're going to make, we're going to study right now is studying the pelvis. All right? We're going to come back and show you what's wrong with this pelvis in a quick second. So let's go back to what I'm going to show you first of all. Now here is a picture of the pelvis, all right? And this is actually the picture of a female pelvis. Now I want you to notice something. Now a female pelvis is always wider, all right? It's always very wide. It's wider because the pubic arch, this angle right here, as you can see, is 120 degrees or more wider for a female. The reason why it's wide is because a baby has to come out of this womb, all right? Or comes up, sorry, has to come out of the pelvis, all right? I'm going to show you that from a document, the document I said that you should have handy. I'm going to scroll up a bit just to show you what it looks like, okay? So now here is a picture of a baby coming out of a female pelvis. Now, this is the arch that I'm talking about right here, which you see from this picture, all right? From this picture, I'm going to pull it to the side so you can see what I'm saying. So when you're looking at this pelvis right here from a female laying down on her back, all right? So this is how a baby comes out because of the wide pubic arch, this angle right here, which allows the baby to come out from there, all right? So now, if this is not wide enough, the baby can come out of the womb. So that's why a female pubic arch is 120 degrees wider. So because the pubic arch is wider, it pushes, right? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull this out. Now, because the pubic arch here is wider, all right, it pushes the pelvis further apart. So female have heavier pelvises. The pelvises are very, very heavy because it has to bear the weight of pregnancy, carry children, and everything else. So because of this wider pubic arch, it pushes the pelvis wider, all right? Now, because of that, the legs of a female are farther apart, all right? Now, there's what they call the trochanter, which is this knob right here, which you see on a female. When a female stands, you're going to see this trochanter or this female pelvis knob stick out, right? It juts out. And because of that, so when you draw a female hip, the hip is going to come out like this, down, and then it's going to jut out right here. That jutting is caused by this spot right here, which you call the trochanter, all right? Now, I want you to take note of that. We'll go to another picture. Now, because the trochanter comes out, and because the pelvises are, because the female legs are wider at the hip joints, it causes what we call a Q angle. All right. Let me show you what I mean by a Q angle from a document. All right. We're going to scroll down a bit more and show you what we talk about in the Q angle. Let's see if we can go up further a bit and see if we can find it. I know it's somewhere in here. No, it's not there. Scroll down a bit more and see if we can find that. Oh, right, we're at the page. So the Q angle, right, is the angle between the hips, this trochanter that you see right here, and the knee. For females, it's very acute because the pelvis is wider because of the wider pubic arch. Okay? So I want you to take note of that. So because the pelvis is wider, it gives that female that hourglass figure because the ilium crest right here, from the picture that you see right here, the iliac crest, okay? The iliac crest is broader. And so because it's broader, it's farther apart. And then the trochanter as well is farther apart, causing that female to have that hourglass figure. All right. Now let's go on to the next picture. So because of that wider pubic arch, wider wider iliac crest right here, all right, and trochanter. Because of that Q angle, this makes this trochanter to hang down a bit more, all right? So it hangs lower. It's not going to stand up. So when you look at a female pelvis and the hips are going to hang lower and they're going to be angled. It's because of the Q angle. This acute angle is more like if you stretch something, if you move something away from its normal point, it hangs a little bit lower. Angular, the angle, that angle right here drops, because if it was straighter it would come up, right? It would angle a little bit more, that Q angle right there. Okay, now because of that Q angle, it makes something very special happen. So when a female goes to let's say she wants to wear clothes and she wants to sew, or she's trying to get into a dress or a skirt or some pants, because of that trochanter, that jutting out because of the Q angle, and because it's being jutting out, the Q angle makes it to hang lower, right? It makes a female hip to hang lower, all right? So when you go to measure clothes for yourself, you find out that when you measure the hip of a female, it's gonna be measured around that trochanter that you have over here. And so because it's hanging low, you find out that the crotch of a female is gonna be above the trochanter hip right here. That jutting out that you have at the angle is gonna be above, and so the female crotch, right, it's gonna be just above that trochanter. Does it make sense? Okay, I want you to take note of that. So but with a male, remember, with the male, the Q angle is straight. It's not angled. It's the Q angle is less acute, so the trochanter doesn't drop down low. So when a man measures his hips, all right, it's gonna be above his crotch. So I want you to note that difference. The hip for a female is below the crotch. For a man, it's above the crotch. This is the crotch, it's above. So the hip length, right, from a man down will stop very, very abruptly before his crotch. With a female, it's gonna be below the crotch. All right, so I want you to take notice of that. Okay, so because of that, a man's hips will be placed higher above his crotch. So the distance from his pelvic bone to his hip bone where he has sits higher. All right, I want you to take notice. Another reason for the trochanter, right, being another reason for the trochanter is that when a woman's hips are being measured, right, the widest part around her body will be around that trochanter, right? As you can see right here following my mouse. And another thing in the design is because a woman's ovaries and reproductive organs are inside the pelvis, all right? So that's the reason why it's that way. So the widest part around a woman's body will be around the hips, the trochanter that's sticking out, okay? Now for males don't require that because a man's reproductive organs needs to hang outside the pelvis because it needs to be at a temperature that's lower than the human body temperature on the inside. So the reproductive organs of a man hangs outside. So that's the reason why the hip placement is right where you are, as you can see with this lady measuring the hip of a man, a tape measurement for pants or whatever he wants to wear or his underwear. So that's the reason why it's that way. And it will always remain that way because the male reproductive organs needs to hang outside the pelvis. So because it needs the body temperature, it needs to be below the human body temperature for it to work perfectly. Okay. Of that. Now let's go back to what I'm trying to say with Iggy. All right. Now here is a picture of Jana Talakova. Is it Jana Talakova? All right. I hope I'm not butchering up the name. All right. Jana Talakova. Now Jana Talakova is a transgendered female, meaning that she wasn't born male. He transgendered into a female. All right, genetically born male, cosmetic surgery, hip implant, breast implant, augmentation, and all that, transgendered into a female. All right, so now I want you to notice something on the hips of Jenna Talakova. The same thing that I told you with the measurement. See where the hip bone ends? That trochanter for the male, it ends above the crotch. Remember when we talked in the female measurement, all right? That trochanter right here ends below the crotch. For Jenna Talakova, because he is male, that trochanter ends above. For females, it's below. Now let's take another example of another female right here. This female is Amanda Bynes. And I want you to see this. So for a female, because of that short distance, now just pull this side by side so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's pull this side by side and see if we can make you see it clearly. Now, because of that trochanter, the female hip, the female curvature is going to be longer down. The curve is going to end where the trochanter around here, if you're following my mouse, juts out, right, from the female hip. Like I said, the measurement is always going to be below the crotch of a female. For a male, the trochanter right here, which ends, right, it's going to be above the crotch. This is the crotch, so it's going to be above. Now, I want you to take a picture now. Let's find a picture now of Iggy Azalea. And we want to do these comparisons. Let's see if we can pull this side by side and see if we can put them all in the same frame in terms of the hips. All right, let's do that. And let's do this. Okay, we'll pull this all frame by frame and see. Oh no, I messed that up. Let's see now. Now let's judge now what I'm saying. Now, here is Amanda Bynes. See how the hip curves all the way down to the trochanter, right? Where you have that female jutting out, right, of the trochanter of the female pelvis or female thigh below the crotch, right? Right? And let's look at Jenna Talakova here, which is a transgendered female, and see the jutting out right there ends, ends above the crotch. In Amanda Bynes here, it ends below the crotch. This is the crotch. The trochanter ends below it. In Jenna Talakova right here, which is a transgendered female, right? Which the jutting out ends right there, and it's above the crotch. Now let's take a look at Iggy Azalea. As you can see, this hip right here, that angle ends above the crotch. So you can see that Iggy here is comparable to Jenna Talakova, the transgendered female right here, in the hip differences. See where it ends, the jutting out ends above the crotch. It doesn't end below the crotch, jutting out here, as Amanda Bynes. Showing and proving to you beyond all reasonable doubt that Iggy Azalea right here is a male transgendered to a female and could never ever be genetically born female. He's been confusing people, leading people astray into believing that he is a beautiful woman when he is just a male with straight back features and a trochanter that's ending above the crotch, not below the crotch as a female should be. So with that, I hope I have left you with I've left you with no doubts at all. If you're still in doubt, it's just because you love lies. You've been used to the lies that you've been told that Iggy here, right here, is a female, when indeed he is a male. So as I always say, and I end on every video that I make, do not trust whatever you hear on TV. The news is a propaganda tool used to control your mind. Don't believe the news. Don't get all the information that you know about yourself and your world from the news. Study, research, study the Bible, the King James Bible also as well. It will teach you some stuff. And with that said, I'll leave you always with these words. Look with your eyes and see with your brain. Subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you and bye-bye.